It's a strange old innings there for Lucknow. Worst possible start, getting their talisman back in the pavilion, KL Rahul, the captain, then a recovery, then again an almighty collapse, and a few runs scratched together at the end, giving them a total that looks respectable, but certainly not on the face of it a winning one. 153 for 8, which, the opposition would probably have taken at the start, but about three-quarters of the way through the innings, Punjab would have hoped for about 120, 125, no more than that. So enough for both sides to take a little bit out of. Where it stands, I guess only my expert panel can help me find out here on Cricbuzz Live. Joined by Pommie Mbangwa, Shaun Pollock. Shaun, in complete isolation, given the venue, given the two teams, how do you look at 153?
Yeah, it's always difficult to gauge surface-wise, isn't it? I think Lucknow came off a game in Mumbai where it was also one of those surfaces. KL Rahul got all the runs, and I think the next contribution was the 22. And no one else could really find the timing. And you feel like it's case in point a little bit with this surface as well. There's too many mistimed shots for class players. I mean, even someone like a Quinton de Kock, he gets up to 46. He hit back-to-back sixes of Kagiso Rabada. And he hit 2 boundaries and 3 balls, I think, before he gets out. So that's 20 of the 46. And that's only taken 5 balls. So there must be something in the surface. But in saying that, I think they are short. I mean, after having recovered 46-34 for Huda, to have lost those 5 wickets in 13 deliveries, it wasn't the most, it was thought-provoking, but it wasn't the most thoughtful cricket I've ever seen in a T20 game.
And there were a few individual moments in there, Pommie, that they'll probably look back in regret. A lazy piece of running from Deepak Huda, and then that middle order, which we said they bat pretty deep. Just somebody up there needed to stand up and say, okay, 165, 170.
Yeah, and I think critical to say 165, 170, maybe even to say 155, 160. And then as a bonus, you end up sort of further than that. It just looked, and as Shaun says, it just looked that those who came in to try and start off by whacking it were thinking kind of they were playing on a wicket that was really good. And yet, having sat on the side, they watched as guys who time it quite nicely struggled to time it. So, yeah, maybe not quite right on in terms of the assessment of what was needed when they went out there. And they paid the price, actually. I think right at the back end, they saved a little bit to get to 153, which is what they've got to in the end. I think it is kind of better than I'll use the word deserved for the shambles that happens in the middle, because they let their opposition in by doing that, having managed to get out of a situation, one out of losing KL first, who they normally get runs from, and then 2 of Huda not being able to start quite quickly, and Quinton de Kock himself, he really looked like he was trying to muscle the ball away and not finding the middle of the bat. And I think he finds the first one with that 6 that goes straight back over Rabada's head, and then he starts to bat kind of normally. It wasn't fluent. And so the difficulty says, look, just bide your time and maybe last 3 or 4, that's where you can have a good go. But they didn't go that way. And in the end, they get to 153. I'll say this for 153, 144 was defended there by Rajasthan Royals. So there is a difficulty in the surface, and it might well be a score that can be defended.
And on the previous occasion, 168 was defended against Mumbai. So totals in that region have been defended. But again, Shaun, it just seemed like a bit of deja vu for Lucknow. In this case, it wasn't KL Rahul, the Lone Ranger. It was the Quinton de Kock, Deepak Huda partnership that ended up being the Lone Ranger. Even though it was lazy running, but at least the platform was set for 4 proper middle order players.
Yeah, it was. And, those guys will be very frustrated at not being able to come in. And I think that's the big challenge, is you've got to be able to determine from the outside what the surface is doing. I think someone, for example, like a Stoinis, will be very disappointed, because this was his chance. So almost like the platform was laid. And with his experience, international experience that he's got, he would have been thinking, I can launch here. The same would have been the case for Jason Holder. He would have also liked to have, lambasted the ball around and shown his expertise. But the back end, they're 42 for 4, and when they goes 44 for 3, the 3 happened in the 16th and 7th over, 17th over. So that's where they really did lose their way. And also, if you always tend to look at it, or I often used to look at it from a bowling perspective of what the surface is offering, and you have a look at the boundaries that are smashed away. The ones that were smashed were basically over pitched or really kind of short in length. That test length seems like a really difficult length to get away. And you would think that LSG would have learned that lesson. And when they come out to bowl, they've got guys who can sort of target those lengths, and they should make it difficult. But they're not going to get away. It's going to leave a sour taste in their mouth if they don't win this match about what the middle order have done, particularly on the back of what's already happened in the tournament.
Yeah, no better illustration, I think, of that test match length than the first wicket, that of KL Rahul, a beauty up front, and then some of the others followed. But yeah, it was lots of potential, but didn't quite come off. You'll have to give a bit of a compliment to Mayank Agarwal, Pommie, for bringing the right bowlers back at the right time. Because yes, even though whatever had happened, when he brought Rabada back, he picked up wickets. We just thought maybe Rahul Chahar is done for the day. He could have gone to seam. He gave him his full spell.
Yeah, I think he was in control of the run rate at that stage, and you tend to kind of think that bit better when you're not under the pump. And the pitch suggested that, who he brought on could kind of just operate, and every now and again they'd get hit away, but by and large it was bowlers who were operating quite well. So yeah, and it's not to take credit away from Mayank. I'll give him the credit to say that on that surface, I think there is the necessity to think that you can get the batters out, and he used his bowlers correctly and had them come in at the back end where they might have started to charge at them, and he had the right guys on there. The bowlers themselves, I think, also have to take some credit. Rahul Chahar, the way he kind of got Holder out, for instance, go for 6 because you're straight and he can hit you over the top. But if you go that bit wider, that playing surface is kind of big enough. If you miss hit, you'll be caught somewhere, and he was caught in the deep on the offside. So yeah, good work done, I think, by Chahar, 2 for 30.
I think also if you have a look at Sandeep Sharma, I mean, if we analyze his bowling performance, he's gone 1 for 18. I mean, that's fantastic. But what he's done over the years that has been so good is the ability to shape the ball through the air, and that's asked a lot of questions. He didn't really have that today, but what he did do is hit length. He had test length, and that's why he didn't go for anything. So there is definitely a game plan there for the bowlers when they get out to the middle. Whether it slides on a little bit better later on into the night, we'll have to wait and see. But I just don't think it wasn't definitely a 180 surface like we were maybe thinking it could be. I think there's too much mistiming there. So this could be competitive. I still think they're a few runs shy.
But I think I'll stay on you for that one, Shaun, because I think what you said about Sandeep Sharma, we remember him in the past, a lot of early swing. That's where he used to get his wickets. But one thing we have not seen from him consistently in any franchise is an economical spell. He shines when he takes wickets, but often those wickets go for 40. But to have a none for 18 type of spell from him, Arshdeep at the other end doing what Arshdeep does, I think that is a lot to do with supporting Rabada here.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you look at him over the years, we've seen him get some shape up front and maybe pick up a wicket or two, get a keeper up to the stump on like a slow Sharjah wicket, for example, where he's really effective. So the fact that he was able to get away with just hammering length, I mean, he didn't do anything different. He didn't really try any other options. Means that you would suggest, but they've done really well. It was good to see KG. His battle with Quinny looked like it was going to head pear-shaped for a while when he got smashed for the 2 sixes. But he does have that ability whenever he comes back into the attack. It's the extra speed, it's the lengths he bowls. He's just such a fantastic athletic customer that he's always hitting his straps with regards to speed. And it was nice to see the guys contributing in around him. So yeah, they'll be happy with that.
Yeah, Pommie, I think with all that we might say about Arshdeep or Sandeep Sharma and the control of Rahul Chahar, again, leading the attack, the results showed you cannot keep class out for too long, someone like Agis or Rabada.
Yeah, look, he's a wicket taker. That's what he is. When you look at his record, you might look and say, it'd be more ideal if he went at less runs, right? Like, so 4 for 38, you say, oh, do you know what? It's too expensive. However, it takes wickets at critical times. So a wicket up at the front. So you think of who he got out up at the front and how that sets the game up. That's how you use him. And so in the middle, when he comes back, he'll come back and he'll get a wicket there as well. And often it will stall the progress of a side. And that's important. You want guys who are able to be game breakers. And for whatever side KG plays for, that's what he is. He has that ability, which not many people have. And you also just look at his strike rate. So whilst the economy rate might look high, look at his strike rate. I think he must have played 50 games, and he probably has got somewhere near 100 wickets, probably 90 wickets, something like that, which is kind of nearly 2 wickets a game, So that's, if you have that, believe me, you're doing better than if you don't.
It's actually funny if you look at him too. He went for back-to-back sixes twice. So Quinn hit him for 12 and 2. And then Shamiri hit him for 12 and 2, and he only goes for 38. So he is. And I think often you look, if you had to give a highlights package of his wickets that he takes, you think, well, those weren't fantastic deliveries at times. But it's what happens in and around those deliveries that tends to create the pressure, tends to create a thought process for the batters, and then they get themselves into trouble.
Yeah, 89 is the figure that you were looking for, 89 wickets for Kagiso Rabada. And I think that the stats that Shaun just pointed out, those back-to-back sixes on 2 occasions, means you take those 4 deliveries out, that's 24, and you're just left with 14 runs. Yeah. 14 runs in the rest of the spell for 4 wickets.
Yeah.
It's a pity we can't take them out.
Yeah, but that is the mindset. That is the mindset that a lot of players. I mean, I know myself. I used to go back to the hotel room and you sit there and go, "Oh, if only I didn't go for those 2 sixes and bowl that delivery. I could have got 4 for spit." And that's what you need to do. I mean, a lot of guys don't go home and go, "Oh, I got 4 wickets." They go, "Oh, if only."
Yeah, well, it's we might try and assess it any way we like in terms of the number of runs put on, but it still has to be chased. If it's not the easiest surface in the world, then they will have to actually go out there and do something that, well, maybe they haven't done often enough this season, Punjab, in terms of being a side that maybe like putting runs on the board. But what's their opening combination going to be like? I'm just having a quick glance and seeing there appears to be no change. It is Shikhar Dhawan and Captain Mayank Agarwal out there. How do they approach this run chase, Pommie? Their way, the Punjab way?
Yeah, if I use the word normally, I think you got to attack the power play. But in this case, attacking the power play is probably taking what you can get and being of a positive mindset and not going to look for too much, because that test match length, and if you think about this bowling lineup, they've got really good sort of tall back of a length bowlers who are going to be quite happy on this surface. So if you're trying to force anything, particularly off the front foot, you're just bringing all those slips into play very early on. So yeah, kind of take what you can get. And with 153, it doesn't really matter if you don't go so fast in the power play, because it's 153 you have to get past. If it was a bigger total, then it would be different. So yeah, they're experienced enough, and I hope it's not a case of try and crash bang while up at the front and then give wickets away and allow Lucknow back in the game.
Yeah, Mohsin is the one opening up. They've still got the experience of Chamira, Jason Holder, Avesh Khan, and of course the spin of Bishnoi to come as well. Which side are we leaning towards, Shaun, at this stage? Early on, you did say they were a little bit short. So are you saying chase it down?
Yeah, I would say they're a little bit short, but the key for me would be Mayank. I think they need to try and build as much pressure on him. He doesn't want to play a big shot, does he, to get himself out again. So you got to keep making sure that you give him nothing for free and then try and build the pressure that way. But I would think that this would probably be just a little bit short of what's required runs-wise.
All right, so slightly towards red for Shaun Pollock. Pommie Mbangwa, which way are you leaning?
Do you know, I think it's going to be defended. I do. I think it's going to
got that feel.
It just, and I'm thinking tall bowlers to bounce. It's just looked difficult for batters. So yeah, I suppose that kind of requires them to get it right, the Lucknow bowlers. But yeah, if they do, which I feel they might get it right sufficiently, they'll probably defend it.
All right. Well, I just found a comfortable spot on a fence. I'm wondering if I should keep sitting there or not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I won't sit on the fence. I'll also go with the men in turquoise and say that, yeah, they'll probably find a way to keep Punjab just short. If they go hell for leather and go their way, then they might struggle a little bit. But we'll see the progress. 10th over is where we always get a great idea on Cricbuzz Combox. We'll see you then. For now, from Shaun, Pommie and myself, that's all on Cricbuzz Live.